Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanctuary. I'm your host, Professor C, and we're going to be doing some more A&P today. We're going to look specifically at thoracic and lumbar vertebrae today. So, let's do it. All right, focusing in here on the 12 thoracic vertebrae, those ones that will articulate with the ribs are called T1 to T12. They have medium-sized body. I'll put the B here so we know there's a body. And I'll put the B here on this vertebra so we can see it from the lateral aspect as well. And medium-sized vertebral foramina. I can see it in this one, of course, but I can't see it in the one down below. But remember, as we go down the vertebral column, the bodies will get bigger and bigger, and the vertebral foramina will get smaller and smaller. When we're in the middle of the section of T's, we can say they're both medium-sized at this point. Notice these transverse processes, and I'll do it like this. I'll put TP. There's a transverse process. Here's one over here, a transverse process. Those are, well, no longer do they have the piercings like the cervical vertebrae do, so there are no transverse foramina here. It's the angle that's more important to me. They're kind of angled at this V angle, almost like a jet fighter with its wings angled back like that. If you see these very typical V-angled transverse processes, it's almost an instant giveaway that you're looking at one of the T vertebrae. Now, by looking, can I tell if this is T4, T5? No, I cannot tell that personally, but I would guess it's around that area. Notice the spinous process, which in this top picture just kind of looks a little boring. I'll put an SP here for spinous process. But if you look at the one down below it, another kind of giveaway that you're looking at a T vertebra is that long, almost spear-like, downward pointing spinous process, very characteristic of a T thoracic vertebra. Now, I'm going to clear off the mud here and change my color so we can see these neck structures carefully. So, articular facets, again, there's going to be a vertebra on top of this and a vertebra below this, so they have to articulate. Not only that, they have to articulate with ribs, which we'll get to in just a moment. So the articular facets, let's show this here in red on the top one. That's the superior articular facet. In that top bone, we cannot see the inferior one. Now, in the bone below, I can see that same structure. That superior articular facet is right here. And then the inferior articular facet is on this face right here, right above the spinous process. So I'm just going to label this superior articular facet and inferior articular facet. It's in between that intervertebral notch and this spinous process. Those are going to articulate with the vertebrae that are above and below it. But because these are thoracic vertebrae, we have to deal with the ribs. They have to articulate here as well. And I'm going to change to a blue, and I can see them clearly on the bone that's below. So let's check these out. Here and here and here are 3 facets. You'd see those on the other side as well. So they would have 6 of these facets for articulation with the ribs. And I'm going to kind of fake draw a ribbon here just so you see it. But the rib kind of goes in here and kind of goes in here and then kind of bows out like that. Now, no, that's not a great drawing of the rib. I'll show you that better in an image in a moment. But you will see each rib, the head of it, articulate with those 3 spots. So let's name them real quick. This one up here is called the, well, you can call that a demifacet because there'll be another half of it on the vertebrae above it. And we're going to find out the ribs kind of stick in between the vertebrae there. So I would call that a superior either demifacet, or you could call that a superior costal facet, costal referring to the ribs. This one here underneath is the inferior demifacet, or you could call it the inferior costal facet. Now the one out here is not usually referred to as a demifacet, but it is often referred to as the transverse costal facet. In the image above, I can see a pair of those. Here, that would be the superior demifacet, also known as the superior costal facet. And then here on the transverse process is the transverse costal facet, not technically referred to as a demifacet. Right there. On the other side, you can see them there and there, but we cannot, from this aspect, see the inferior demifacets. Okay, here is showing a pretty good picture. It's not perfect, but it's showing how a rib is kind of halfway here, and it should be halfway glued to the bone above it here as well, and those two demifacets like that. And then the third facet is the one out there. So again, this would be the superior demifacet, this would be the inferior demifacet, and this is the superior demifacet. And then out here is the transverse costal facet, transverse costal facet. Now the lumbar vertebrae, if we've been looking at these T vertebrae for a moment, these look very different. Again, the C's, the T's, and the L's, very easy to spot. This one I mainly can tell because it's got this T-shaped, or this T angle to the transverse processes. So let's run through a few of these little factoids. Make up the small of the back, named L1 to L5, just like the previous way we've named the vertebrae, L1 being on top, L5 being the one on the bottom. At this point, we're so far down the spinal cord that the body, and I'll go ahead and label it B here, is big and thick. The thickest, biggest part of the vertebral column body-wise is found in the lumbar vertebrae. Tiny vertebral foramen though. I'll put a VF here on this one, up top, and then down below I'll put a VF here on this one. Remember, the spinal cord at this point is tapering to a point and will soon end. So we don't need a very large vertebral foramen down here in the lumbar area, but we do need large bodies to support all the weight that has come on top of it. What else can I see that stands out? Well, right here I'll draw these flat hatchet shaped, almost like an axe head. They're not long and pointy like the thoracics, and they're certainly not bifid like they were up in the cervical vertebrae. So these flat hatchet shaped spinous processes. Again, on this image, I can show the spinous process here, the two transverse processes on either side. Just to be fully complete, we can put the pedicle there, and we can show the lamina being up there. Already showed you the T-angled transverse processes. It's kind of a giveaway to me immediately when I see it. If I see the V angle, I know I'm looking at a thoracic. If I see the T angle, I know I'm looking at a lumbar. All right. How'd you feel about that one? Thanks for watching it if you made it this far. Check out some other videos if you want to. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.